Hello and welcome to a Puzzling Time video, and I'm going to go through my collection, which is kind of the full collection of the released Dee Dixon puzzles, and give my kind of views on them and give you a bit more information on them. There's not going to be any spoilers, and hopefully you'll just get a bit of information about which box you might prefer to pick up, or find out about maybe one of the boxes that you didn't know so much about. Now, I'm not going through these in any particular order. I'm just going to go through them kind of in the order that maybe a little bit chronologically ordered, but really it's just how I pick them up. But I am starting kind of from the beginning, really. So this is the first one. Now, this beautiful box. It's called Where's My Hammer, and it is made up of lots and lots of different types of wood. It's got a nice rattle to it. As you can see, it is a big chunky size, and that is something we're going to see quite a lot with these Dee Dixon boxes. They do tend to be pretty big. We've got this lid that almost wants to come off, and this is really the first one that propelled Dee into kind of the stratosphere of being known as this fantastic puzzle maker, not only because of the kind of mechanics and the design, but just the craftsmanship as well. And this puzzle did really well. It won an honourable mention at the IPP, and you can see why as well. It's just an absolutely fantastic box, and definitely one that I tend to give to people to have a go at. It is quite a difficult box. In fact, there's a step on this that is very difficult. So, be careful if you're new to boxes. Maybe this one is definitely one to try, but maybe not the first box you ever try, and certainly maybe not the first Dee Dixon box you ever try, which ironically, it was kind of the first major release that he had. Now, I say the first major release because I think at a similar time, he also brought out a box called Blinded 2. So just put that to one side. This is Blinded 2. Now you're going to see it again. We see these lovely splines just like we did on the Where's My Hammer. Blinded 2 and Blinded 3 have been released. Blinded 1 was never released en masse. There are a few people who've got a few copies, but generally Dee claims it's just too simple a box to be released, and I think at some point he wants to go back and he wants to look at it again. But this one here, this is Blinded 2, came out kind of shortly after Where's My Hammer. A superb kind of puzzle box, not as complicated, not as difficult as Where's My Hammer. This is a great first one to try. The solve on it is fairly short though. Don't expect as long a solve as Where's My Hammer, but definitely one that if you are collecting Dee Dixon boxes or want to get a handful of them, this is definitely kind of one to check out. The next one I'm going to show you is this super purple heart and canary wood. I mean, I cannot do justice to the colours inside this wood on this video, but it's just fantastic. Now this came out, it's called the Sideways Puzzle, and Sideways Box, and it is simple. It is a simple box. It's a good size, and there's there's not a long solve at all. This is the one that you're going to collect either if you are collecting all of these boxes and you think, oh, I need to get all of them, then you'll get this one. If you're only going to pick up one or two boxes, I would say don't pick this one up. Go for some of the others. It's a lovely box. It's nice mechanism. It is so beautiful. And if it wasn't for the fact that Purple Heart faded so easily, I would have this on display all the time. But it is not going to be a long or a difficult solve. This is a good one, therefore, kind of to share with your non-puzzling friends, or to get out as a little bit of a challenge for people. It's not one that is going to be causing issues for kind of major puzzlers. Next, let's have a look at this one. This is Portal. So Portal is a huge box of games, Monkey Pod here, beautiful on top. This is quite a long solve. This would be classed as a kind of a non-blind solve. So virtually everything that happens with this box you can see. With some boxes and some sequential discovery puzzles in general, you sometimes get blind moves. Now when people talk about blind moves, it's a little bit misleading. Even when you have blind moves, there's often other feedback. But this one here, pretty much every kind of move you've got to work out on this fairly long solve, again, quite a long solve, has kind of some visual element to it. We have these little holes, these little kind of portals on the side here. Wonderful box, definitely kind of one of the underrated ones. This does not get spoken about as much as, say, Where's My Hammer or even Blinded 2, but in my opinion it is up there as one of the top tier kind of solves. I really enjoy solving this one time and time again. Lots of very interesting mechanics in this. And actually one of the things you do get with D boxes is once you kind of open them up and you've got the lid off, you can see inside the box and you can see the mechanics, and quite often actually you can resolve the puzzle with the lid off, because with a box, taking the lid off tends to typically be the last move, and therefore you can kind of solve it again without the lid on, and you can see those mechanics working. And that's something that I always tend to do with the Ded Wood Crafts. That's Dee Dixon's maker name boxes. I tend to solve them and then I leave the lid off and I kind of resolve it again and just watch those mechanics and just see, right, that's exactly how it worked. Is that how I thought the puzzle was going to work, the pieces were going to interact. Very chunky one, big heavy one. Might be the biggest actually that he's released. It's certainly similar in size to Where's My Hammer. Right, well I did mention the Blinded series, if you like. So we've got Blinded 2. This is Blinded 3. This is a wonderful puzzle. This one I really enjoy. I'm not going to say why I enjoy this, but it's not a hugely difficult solve or a long solve, but there's some tricks and some traps in there that can catch you out, and I thought it was really, really clever. And there's one move in this in particular that kind of got me, and I got to like the end, pretty much towards the end. I was like, I messaged Dean and said, wow, I feel like I'm right there. I just can't work out this last move. And then, I mean, I never ask for hints or solutions on any puzzles. I once, and I regret it, I asked for help on the Where's My Hammer as a bit of a kind of a hint on the move that I got stuck on, because I was on time constraints and there's some people I needed to show the puzzle to. But I never ever ask for hints or help on puzzles typically. So I messaged Dee, not asking for hints or help, so I always say don't help me. But I wanted to know, like, am I on, this is where I'm up to. And he was just laughing, saying, oh yeah, people have got stuck at this point. And then I worked out the last move, and it's just wonderful. Absolutely fantastic end to this puzzle. Really enjoyed it, very clever. Something that I typically, in kind of my naivety, had not come across much before. Right, moving on, let's have a look at this one. Spirit Box. Now, I say simple boxes. This is another simple one. If you don't like simple boxes, or you want to get a bit more complicated, don't get this. This is definitely another one for kind of the collectors of these boxes. But there is something a little bit special about this box. And what's special about this is, before I mentioned how you can open boxes and you can see the mechanics, and Dee typically has all the mechanics very easily for you to see. If they are possible to see, you can see them. He doesn't hide them away. He kind of shows off, because the craftsmanship on the mechanics on the inside is as good as the craftsmanship on the outside. And that's why he likes to show that off, because it's just fantastic work. This one, okay, slightly different, because it has a compartment where you can put something in and it won't affect the mechanics. So most of these boxes you can open and there's space inside, but if you were to put stuff in there, it might affect the mechanics and the solve, and it could cause issues. Actually, Spirit Box has a separate kind of compartment dedicated for you to putting something inside. So this is a great one if you actually want a box to hold something. This is a good one. But if you want a long or complicated solve, this is not the one for you. Kind of a bit like Sideways. It's too simple a solve really to be kind of classed as you know, a kind of a puzzler's box. It is a collector's box, and don't worry, there are plenty of collectors of puzzles. So as usual, this one sold out like all the others. Now moving on to one of my favourites, and it's not everyone's favourite. Look at these colours again. This is Space Case, and it's not everyone's favourite for a couple of reasons. And one of those reasons is because we have blindness on this puzzle. So there is not really anything where you kind of see inside, and some people say that the feedback that you get from this puzzle isn't that clear. I think that's unfair. I really enjoy the solve of this. It's one of my favourites. I enjoyed working through it. It's just a different type of feedback. It's not blind, it's just you have to repeat a few moves, you have to try and work out what might be going on, and it is a much more kind of, you have to listen. It's a tactile puzzle. You have to be able to feel a little bit as well if you're, and it's complicated. So this is probably his most complicated box, I would say, and it's the one that's caused a lot of people issues. But it's approachable. It is solvable. None of these boxes are, you know, not solvable. They are all solvable. But this one is definitely on the more difficult range. I just really like it because I enjoyed my journey with it. I enjoyed the solve with it. I kind of sat down. I can't remember if I did it in one sitting or two sittings, but everything I kind of visualised that might be going on in this box was going on. So yeah, it's a great one, Space Case. But again, not as loved maybe as some of his others, which is a shame. But then it's hard to be as loved as this next box. This next box is Walter. Look at his monkey pod again. Angry Walter, as he's known, is a breakaway puzzle from Dee, because this one really isn't, well, kind of is box shaped, but it's not really the same. I would say this is more kind of a sequential discovery box where you're trying to extract something. In fact, the aim of this one is to find his battery pack, his power unit. So this has got a different aim. Most of the other boxes, you know, it's open the box, take the lid off, as you would expect from a box. This one, it is to find the power unit. So this is definitely more sequential discovery than box, little breakaway, and this has been made again by Dee Dixon, and every time it sells out instantly. It is such a fantastic puzzle. It is very sought after. I'm so glad that he keeps making them and comes back to it, because it helps keep the price down, and people who really want this box aren't having to pay ridiculous amounts on auction. You know, some people do pay ridiculous amounts on auction because not everyone's patient, but if you are patient, you can tend to pick up one of these at a good price, and you should do. This is a superb puzzle. Lots of interesting moves in there, lots of clever mechanics, and as you look at that face, how can you not just be in fear of that face? Really wonderful. And then his latest one is Menace. This is the Menace box, so back to boxes. Although again slightly different. Dee doesn't just keep, open the box, do this, do that. This one actually has two aims. First one is to open the box. Second one is to find the hidden compartment. So this one has a hidden compartment that has a little kind of token in it that you'll be able to kind of find to show that you found that hidden compartment. And it is a wonderful box, not very long solve. It's kind of similar to maybe a Blinded 2 length, maybe a little bit longer than Blinded 2. But this one I've had more people approach me and ask how to solve like the last couple of steps of this than virtually any of these boxes, and I think I've talked people through Where's My Hammer, Blinded 2, Portal, Blinded 3. I've helped people with Walter, Space Case, and Menace. So the only two I haven't helped people with are the two simpler ones, but this one, without doubt, this one I've helped most people with. So there's definitely a tricky move or two in there. I don't tell people how to solve it. I try and give really obscure hints or just fire back questions to get them to think. And when they solve it, everyone is always amazed and marvels at this wonderful box. And again, this is another one that's had a couple of releases. Dee tends to try and do a couple of releases of each of his boxes. Pretty sure most of these have had 2 releases, maybe Portal and Blinded 3, not so much. But yeah, this is a great one. This is definitely worth picking up. This is a great version of Dee's work. If you're only picking up 2 or 3, then I would put this in that category. It's not too difficult, even though a lot of people have asked to get started with this puzzle, and it shows some clever mechanics, and it just shows off the great craftsmanship and the wonderful wood choices that Dee goes through. So hopefully this quite lengthy talk through of the different Dee Dixon boxes has helped you out. If you've got any specific questions about any of the boxes, please write them below, and I will definitely respond and try and answer them best I can. That is all for now, and I will see you all next week.